The final day of practice has come to an end. We'll tell you who topped the chart on Carburetor Day. The front row of the Indianapolis 500. A lot of experience. What can we anticipate entering turn 1 on the first lap? And be sure to join us on the morning of the Indianapolis 500. All that and more right here on Grid tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Tonight's special Carburetor edition. My name is Joe Skibinski. Along with me, Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. And before we get started with the coverage of Carburetor Day, we want to give an important information to all our viewers out there watching today. It was reported late yesterday evening that last Saturday, August 15th, the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series held their Brownell Capitini Classic at Knoxville Raceway in Iowa. However, yesterday evening, multiple news outlets broke reports of positive test results from COVID-19 from people that attended the event. These include members of Craig Kinser's racing team, as well as 3 other racing drivers, as well as Knoxville racer Tori Knudsen, who is also sitting out for the next week, as well as the other racers. We advise everyone to please, if you attended last weekend's event at Knoxville or know people that attended, please monitor your health, get informed, get tested. We care about the well-being of everybody in the motorsports community. We're all one big family. We all love racing, and we want each other to be safe, healthy, to enjoy racing for the foreseeable future. So definitely want to share that with everyone. Now let's go into the details about Carburetor Day.
August 21st, 2020. Wow, what a strange day. Strange times for everyone. And, today especially was extremely strange because, it's Carb Day and we did not have the Freedom 100. The Freedom 100 in the Indy Light Series is a race that many fans look forward to each year. They always, get excited over the close racing. There's typically a lot of lead changes and spectacular finishes, leaving the fans wanting more laps. And unfortunately, the 2020 Indy Lights season was canceled due to the global pandemic. And however, we're all hopeful that the Indy Lights series and the Freedom 100 will return strong next year in 2021. 2020 has been a strange year in general for racing with all of the changes. Heck, the Indy 500 is on Sunday in the month of August, not in the month of May. Just crazy times we're living in. Joe, how odd is it that we don't have the Freedom 100 this year? It feels like something's missing, right?
It is missing. I remember prior to the start of the Freedom 100 when it was just the Indianapolis 500 and it was just the one race that we all look forward to. The addition of the Freedom 100, it really has allowed us to see upcoming drivers compete at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and provide some great racing action, especially everyone remembers the Ford Y finish a few years ago. A lot of great memories, and it's really unfortunate that this year, due to the pandemic and everything going on, we don't have the Freedom 100. It's a bit of a surreal sight, but definitely, especially for the longtime fans that remember life before the Freedom 100, it just almost feels like how it was before and how much of a void we now have without that race.
Yeah, definitely a major void without the Freedom 100. We can only hope that all the teams are going to be able to survive this 1 year off from Indy Lights racing. And next year, hopefully we can, get a healthy Indy Lights grid. Understand they've been struggling a little bit with car counts in recent years. And understand, not just for Indy Lights, but motorsports in general, it's going to be hard, to make it through these times. But I'm sure, Roger Penske in charge, I'm sure that everything's going to work out for the best. And in 2021, in the month of May, hopefully, we'll have the Indy 500 in May, and we'll have the Freedom 100 on Carb Day, and we can see another spectacular photo finish. And then moving ahead to the IndyCar action today, Carb Day being the final practice session before the 500-mile race, serves as the last opportunity for teams to make sure that everything is working correctly and make sure that the car is right for the race with their setup. And, there have been some concerns with the aero screen impacting the on-track product. And, some believe that passing will be more difficult and that track position will be more important than ever. And, but however, today during the Carb Day practice session, it showed that passing is definitely still possible. What type of race do you expect on Sunday? And do you think and, like looking at, the past 2 years with this current aero kit, do you think we'll see something similar, or will it be completely different?
Very great question. I know yesterday we were able to participate in media day with the drivers at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And this was a question very similar to Alexander Rossi, in which he responded he anticipates something from 2018, 2019, with that toe becoming a factor. A lot of times we've heard discussion about passing is going to be very difficult. However, time after time again, we've seen passing can be done in the great spectacle in all of sports in the Indianapolis 500. And I think we're going to see something very similar this year with this year's race.
Yeah, certainly. I also agree that we're going to see a similar race. It might be a little bit harder for if you're further back to get up and make and complete the pass. But I definitely think that it's not going to be much difference in next year. I've seen mixed opinions from drivers. Some drivers think that you need to make your move with 50 laps to go instead of 10 laps to go, while other drivers think that it's just going to be like it has been the past 2 years. I understand in 2018 when we introduced this new aero package there really wasn't a lot of passing in the 500, and then last year was a massive improvement. And although the addition of Aeroscreen might have a little effect on what's going on, but I'm predicting that it's not gonna be too severe, and we'll definitely be able to see some passing throughout the field.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to see passing throughout the field. It's going to be a really good race, I feel, and especially with everything that we've seen so far, I don't see any indications. Now, one thing we did see today was one minor incident. Sage Karen brushed the wall today. It's been a tough month of August for the dryer line bowl entries this month. Sage Karen and J.R. Hildebrand are the bottoms of the timesheets, as well as, of course, Ben Hanley with Dragon Speed. All of them are starting in the last row for Sunday's race. And speaking about being in the bottom of the chart, pole sitter Marco Andretti was only 28th fastest today and told he completed about 70 laps. If you're on the 98 team, are you a little bit more concerned now heading into the race, or is there nothing to worry about?
No, I don't think there's anything to worry about at all. I mean, all you have to do is, is like catch a good draft, and you can definitely, be towards the top of the timesheets. At this racetrack, with in the slipstream's been so strong. If I'm Marco Andretti, I'm like, hey, we made it through Carb Day without any incident, and now we can, adjust our car as needed. And we can put it asleep until it's time for the race. I mean, look at all the other Andretti cars. They look really good today in practice. And as long as the other Andretti cars are looking good, and I'm Marco Andretti, honestly wouldn't have anything to worry about right now. Just focus on leading the field of green and hopefully breaking the dreaded Andretti curse.
Breaking the Andretti curse, that'll be the big goal for them. And of course, overall, they've had a strong month. They've been fast all month long. They got the pole. This was the opportunity where they could just focus on race trim, focus on making sure the car is perfect for Sunday, whereas everyone else is playing catch up and trying to ensure they have a good car. I feel they already have a good car. They are ready and confident about their chances Sunday.
Yeah, definitely look for Marco Andretti to be strong. Andretti Autosport, Honda. I definitely think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And speaking of forces to be reckoned with, the two rookies from Aero McLaren SP were in the top five fastest with Paddle Award being at the top of the charts, and now looking at the top 10. Paddle Award is a rookie in the Indy 500 because he hasn't made an Indy 500 start. Just to clarify that. And Scott Dixon second, Alexander Rossi third, Takuma Sato fourth, Oliver Askew fifth, Zach Veek sixth, Joseph Newgarden Team Penske seventh, Marcus Ericsson eighth, Jack Harvey ninth, and rookie Alex Palou rounds out the top 10. And one name you don't see on the list is two-time Formula One world champion Fernando Alonso, who was stuck down 23rd fastest. And so far in the month of August, it seems like Fernando Alonso has been a step down from his two young teammates, Pato O'Ward and Oliver Askew. Would you agree with that statement, Joe?
It does appear so. We saw in qualifying, he started the first back out of them. Of course, qualifying came a lot to the draw of when you qualified. Those that started later of their qualifying lap had a much slicker track to deal with. The big thing I think overall, Fernando Alonso is giving advice and sharing tips to the two rookies for the Indianapolis 500 this year. Big unique factor for Fernando Alonso, even though he's not a rookie, this is a very different car than what he did. When he drove, we had a bigger aero kit. We even had the wheels, which were covered in the back with those bumpers. Those are gone. And of course, last year he failed to qualify. He said all essentially month long, their big focus was race trim. So it's going to be really interesting to see how everything turns out for Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, the Arrow McLaren SP bunch seem to have everything figured out so far, and I'm sure they can be able to look at the data coming from Award and Eske's car and see what they can do with Alonso's car. But Alonso's true professional. When he made his debut in the Indy 500, he dazzled everybody, even getting up there and leading laps. It was his first time on an oval track, and everybody was in wow. Even when his Honda engine popped and done for the day, he got out of the car and the fans gave him a standing ovation. They truly appreciate Fernando Alonso, completely, put, as it was mentioned, he, put his entire reputation on the line to come over here back, I believe it was 2017, I believe, when he come over here to run with the Andretti McLaren camp. And people criticized it, but Alonso came over here, looked like he'd been driving on oval tracks and racing at Indianapolis 500 for years. And this could potentially be his last time going for the Triple Crown, because he won't be allowed to come over here and run the Indy 500 when he's back in Formula One with Renault. And so if Alonso wins, he's probably not going to come back. And his future is still unclear as well. Looking forward, because 2 years back in Formula One, a lot can happen, and we don't know if we're going to see the two-time Formula One world champion back in the Indy 500 after Sunday.
Yeah, after Sunday, we're not sure what's going to happen. Definitely is going to come down to if Fernando wins the race or not. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all turns out. Now, big thing, of course, Fernando Alonso is in a Chevrolet, and today we saw a better mix of Chevrolets and Hondas in the top. Of course, the McLaren team, they're all in Chevrolets. They had some really fast times today. All month long, we have seen Honda essentially dominating. They maximized their power, qualifying only one Chevrolet in the top 10. Now, Chevrolet, of course, it seems like they were just always behind, but now here we are, Carb Day. We're really focusing on race trim, and it seems like Chevrolet, they're up there towards the front. Do you feel Chevrolet will be competitive come Sunday?
Yeah, I definitely think Chevrolet will certainly be in the mix on Sunday. And it seemed like, Honda had the edge in qualifying, by a lot. They were really cranking out all that horsepower. Yeah, and, interestingly enough, looking back at last year's 500, it seemed like being in the Chevrolet was an advantage over the Honda. And however this year, the gap is a lot closer between the two engine manufacturers. And it's going to be interesting to see, are we going to have a Honda or a Chevrolet in victory lane? But I certainly think, in race trends, Chevrolet can take the fight to the Honda powered teams.
Definitely the Chevrolets look good. They could take the fight. And of course, the big thing, the slipstream, running in traffic, that's going to be essentially equalizers for Chevrolet. The big question, of course, a lot of people are going to be wondering, fuel mileage. How much fuel mileage of a difference do we see between the Hondas and the Chevrolets going forward? It's going to make it for a very competitive race. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for all the fans watching the racing.
Certainly, with practice and qualifying, that's over now. And the only thing left is the race. 200 laps, 500 miles, 33 drivers, one winner. After everything that's happened so far in the month of August, looking at all of the timesheets and evaluating everything happening on track, which teams should be the front runners on Sunday, and who still has a little bit of work to do before the race.
Definitely when it comes to some of the front runners for Sunday's race, I see, of course, Andretti Autosport. They look good. Chip Ganassi, yes, Scott Dixon is in the front row. His two teammates, they're a little bit further back. But I do see a Ray Hall Letterman Racing. Takuma Sato front row. He's looking really good. Graham Ray Hall, he was in the Fast Nine. I mean, Spencer Piggott, he just missed essentially going into the Fast Nine. They're looking really good. Of course, all of them are Honda power. So I feel those are the two big teams to look at. After today, McLaren Peterson, especially the two rookies, I think they look really good. I wouldn't be surprised if what we saw Fernando Alonso done before in the Indianapolis 500, just slowly climb his way to the front. Good pit stops, keep climbing. He could come up. So those are the three I see as big favorites. The ones I do see that need a little bit of work, I would say Chip Ganassi. Yeah, Scott Dixon's up front, but the other two, they're not exactly up towards the front, and both of them are returning for their second Indy 500, those being Felix Rosenqvist and Marcus Ericsson. And definitely, of course, Penske qualifying trim, they were nowhere to be in sight. they're going to really be focusing on moving and working their way to the front. They're all starting way in the back, but I definitely think they can't be ruled out as not a potential winning team for the Indianapolis 500.
Yes, and if I'm looking at front runners, I agree with you. I think Andretti Autosport is certainly going to be the team to beat, and also the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan group is looking really good as well. With Takuma Sato, Graham Rahal, and Spencer Pigot is coming along as well, and also Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi Racing, they're looking good. Marcus Erickson's looking strong. Felix Rosenquist looks like he still has a little work to do. And speaking of teams with some work to do, I think Ed Carpenter Racing, even Team Penske, they need to make sure that their race setup, is Penske perfect. Yeah, and also the teams we mentioned earlier, Brian Rumble and Dragon Speed. I think those teams certainly have a lot to grow between now and the race because bottom of the time charts today, Karam, Hildebrand, and Hanley, and ironically they're the last row as well. Yeah, and it seemed like past few years the Dry and Rumble entries, they've definitely been struggling for speed and towards the bottom. Dragon Speed. I think Dragon Speed certainly has a lot to be proud of because they started off with those electrical gremlins way off the pace. And today they're the closest that they've ever been so far. So I certainly think that the Dragon Speed operation has definitely caught up to the tail of the field. And if nothing else major happens, I certainly think that the Dragon Speed bunch should definitely be proud of their efforts because when you start off with so many problems and then you're off the pace and then now you're on pace, I certainly think that the group at Dragon Speed have made a lot of progress.
Definitely, it seems like a lot of progress. One of the big things, of course, it's going to be just really interesting to see Ed Carpenter Racing. You mentioned him, rookie for them is the fastest so far, so it's going to be really interesting to see all this Sunday. Now, of course, for all our viewers on Sunday morning, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we will have a special pre-race coverage of the Indianapolis 500. Me, Kobe from the Podium Finish, and Matt White from the Grid World Motorsport League will be joining us. And then tomorrow, we have, of course, our traditional Grid Live pre-race, which will cover NASCAR, MotoGP, and Australian Supercar. So busy weekend for us. And then, of course, after the Indianapolis 500, after the conclusion of NASCAR, we will have Grid Live post-race, which will have all the information from all the racing activities throughout the weekend. I know it's going to be a really exciting weekend. Kobe, when it comes to this upcoming race weekend, besides the Indy 500, what are some of the other big stories you're going to be looking at throughout the weekend?
Oh, definitely the playoff picture over in NASCAR. The Dover doubleheader. It's gonna be interesting to see. With two cup races in the same weekend. Have an opportunity to go out and get some big points. I think the driver with the most to gain here could be Jimmy Johnson. Dover's been one of the best tracks for him, and if Jimmy Johnson can go out there and earn some stage points and get a good finish, and in his case, you know, I'm sure he hopes to get a win, and that'll make his life a whole lot easier because we're running out of time in NASCAR for those drivers on the bubble to get themselves in the playoffs because we have the Dover doubleheader and then the wild card super speedway race on the Daytona Oval, and after that we're done. Then we start the playoffs, so there's not a lot of time for Jimmy Johnson and company to get into the playoffs, and I think that have going out and performing well at Dover, a track that he's historically been good at, could aid his chances of making the playoffs in his final season as a full-time NASCAR Cup driver.
Yeah, the NASCAR playoffs, that's going to be a big focus for a lot of fans. One of the things I'll be really looking at is MotoGP. Of course, Marc Marquez is his last race, presumably sitting out. We got essentially a close battle for the championship lead, especially with Ducati Andrea Dovizioso getting the win last week. Can he do 6 in a row for Ducati at the track? Can Franco Morbidelli respond back after that scary accident? And how well will Fabio Quartararo, the points leader, do? Especially, we saw Brand Binder in the KTM really respond well to the race at Austria. I think MotoGP is going to be really fun for a lot of fans. That's all for today, folks. Be sure to subscribe and like our video on YouTube. Definitely keep in touch. We'll be all over the place this weekend on social media because it's Indianapolis 500 race weekend, and we're super excited to have you join us. For Kobe Lamas at the Podium Finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful evening.